this is in the span of a moment. And especially if somebody has a dysregulated nervous system, the thoughts are going to be very staticky and very erratic. And if they are, let's say they're coming in their grid system, this is what I first called the auras, like their grid system, because some people would come in like clunking in like they were coming back from war with like their shield and their sword and like 3 people that have crossed over with them, and I'm like, okay. And but there's so much information that these multidimensional higher aspects of ourselves are delivering through and to us to assist humanity in awakening. And at least that's my personal experience of what I've come to accept that's happening. And then the bubbles in the center have to do with the vertical pillar and obviously the in-body chakras, but sometimes there can be dimensional bubbles in between these chakras from nervous system issues. Okay, so you see this individual with a cube around their head, so you can connect this with the platonic solid cube, which is connected with the root chakra. So one might think, okay, this person's having grounding thoughts, and the AI system generated someone who looks very monk-like, and that's not what the situation was for the individual. And so I say this because that's not what the interpretation of this is. This, as I saw it, was an individual that was experiencing a program that was creating rigid thinking, and it was also an invisible block. So they weren't visible to their higher guides, their higher dimensional aspects of self. And it was also interesting because it's almost like, they know not what they don't know. It's like some of these ways that we can be blocked or not hearing or not seeing are invisible to self. But that's a self-generated situation because we are the creators. So this is an example of PTSD or borderline personality, anything kind of in that spectrum, narcissistic abuse. This is what this would look like behind the veil. And so when you're, at least for me as a practitioner, when I'm seeing these things, you see them so that these higher aspects of self that are also translating the information coming through can assist the individual to understand, but not through direct word. It's all through frequency. So we'll keep kind of chipping away at this so it continues to make sense. This is an example of when I started to first experience and see clairaudient channels, and how the channels of clairaudient frequency waves can come into an individual. So I think that when we start to see these things in a multidimensional manner, it's not so literal and it's not so minimized. Like, so if someone's psychic or if someone's receiving information, I think there's ways that it can be explained that are, again, kind of minimal, but these different channels have different ways of receiving information. This is when I was seeing an individual listening to certain music, and it was music that was at a specific hertz, so it was creating a coherent pattern around their limbic system, which controls our emotions, our memories. And so this actually started to happen early on in my awakening, and that's when I really started to realize, oh my gosh, like everything we hear, everything we listen to, it's creating either anti-life or creating pro-life patterns. The other thing too is to not, because people can get into this space of, well, should I not listen to this, or should I plug my ears when the radio comes on, or I don't want to be around this and it's like, because our system is, it's like a plasmic organism, so it can recover quickly, but depending on how fortified we are spiritually. Okay, so I started to see what I came to later find out, the Holy Grail. So in this, it shows up in different in different ways in different people, but for this individual, it was during a time where she was unifying her inner masculine and feminine, which led to an opening of her heart and opening of the third eye simultaneously. So again, that can be just another way of describing a Kundalini awakening. Here again, just the out-of-body chakras. Here we have an individual in a session who he just connected immediately with his galactic team, you could say, or galactic self. And when I'm seeing these things or these activations are happening, the individual and their higher self can decide what's going on. This is the stairway, I call it the stairway to heaven. This is when in sessions, usually when an ancestor wants to come through and speak on ancestral trauma on a DNA level, I'll see this. And then somebody from either the mother or the father lineage will appear and provide information on damage that's been done on the DNA level. There's many ways that in the mediumship aspect of things that these ancestors can come through. This is one way that they're seen. Usually when they show with a platinum light, they're in a certain frequency band, and for this woman, it's less common for me, and with regard to the mediumship aspect of the work, for a mother and a father or people who had been together on the earth plane to appear together on the other side. They usually always appear separate, and even if they were a couple, they'll appear on two different sides. And it's not because they're not on good terms or something didn't happen, or something happened negatively on the earth plane that they separated when they went to the other side. It's more so just the frequency levels as we go higher dimensionally shift, and the level of codependency and attachment is just non-existent. And that's not to say that they had codependency or attachment stuff, but that's often the case that can be communicated. And if on a less common occasion, when a mother or a father who were together and they've crossed over appear, it's because they're speaking on behalf of, for instance, this woman, usually having relational pattern issues, something that's blocking her from manifesting, her divine partnership, related to DNA imprinting. This is just an example of something that I'll see from past, or you could say current parallel life, and in ways that aspect of herself will show up and transmit information on, again, something that may be creating blocks for her from entering into or expanding into her highest timeline, highest path, whatever you want to call it. So I started then, as we kind of keep passing through, and we're kind of getting to the tail end here. So once we get to the end of this, we're gonna do a guided group kind of meditation activation, and then anyone who consents or wants can come up here and have me listen to their human energy field. And you can, usually during sessions, I prefer people to not give me any information, just to let their nonverbal self speak. And then that usually can take 7 to 13 minutes. I'll probably do that in a little less time today. And then if you have any, specific questions that you wanted to ask, if you decided you wanted to come up, we can get into whatever you'd like to. But when I started to see more specific patterning, I started to realize there's something going on with something called the morphogenetic field. So we're getting more into stuff that I wasn't super into in high school. And the other thing too is I've learned that when connecting to our intuitive soul intelligence, it's just so vast and it's so different than the mental mind could ever conceive of. I'm constantly blown away and humbled by the information that God, source, whatever you want to call it, transmits, because it's not mine, it's ours, it's all of ours. And I think the principles of unification and unity consciousness is, again, something that keeps repeatedly showing up. And especially, too, when you're opening up psychically, or with your different receptor centers or perception, you start to see, okay, I'm seeing this. Where does this also exist in me? And I'm going to go back a little bit. In the very beginning of my awakening, one of the first things I was kind of hard to understand was seeing all of the trauma on the sacral level on the earth plane. So a lot of the sexual inversion and perversion that existed everywhere, like everywhere. And that's kind of when, and I'm talking like things that we all know that I don't need to bring up because there's plenty of it that's talked about now. But yeah, that was something that I kind of had to bear down with my own self and understand, okay, why am I receiving this information? What is this for? And again, we're micros of the macro. So obviously with my own personal healing and self-reflection, it's always looking at what's to be purged, what's to be looked at, what's to be understood, because ultimately that creates strength and resilience. So I'm only going to talk about the center column, but this was another fun part of the journey when I started to see people in tubes, and then I would see constellations in these tubes. And then Debbie Solaris, who I've name dropped twice now, she helped me understand that has to do with people's galactic origins or star origins. And then there's also the philosophical aspect of the fact that we really are all our own universes and our own galaxies, just kind of mingling with one another. But specifically with this vertical column, when I really started to understand the importance, and I keep using the word fortified, and when I'm saying fortified, I'm referring to the fortification of this central column to stay connected and stabilized with Source Center and Mother Earth. These are shields, but I'm not going to get to that today or in this moment. So here we have obviously two beings with their toroidal fields, and something very peculiar began to happen in sessions with individuals. I started to see, if you look at this, I'm going to go to the next slide and then I'll move back. This is a Vesica Pisces. This is forming the same image. So I started to literally experience the second part of sacred geometry. So we went from sphere in the beginning of my journey, and then we start to break apart into the second aspect of how our universe became. And during sessions, when the human orbs, I started to see that when I was connecting, the energy centers were coming together, and the portal in the middle was where the information from the higher dimensional spaces was coming through. It was literally like I was connecting with an individual and I was looking into a space and I felt like I was falling into a portal. And so then that's again when I started to study up and learn a little bit more about sacred geometry. So right here, pulled this up from another AI generated machine, but this just gives an example of multidimensional multitasking. A lot of these pictures are only showing one aspect of what's being received, so it actually looks a little bit more closely related to this, but oftentimes the higher self will guide you, the individual, whoever's conducting this session, to focus on the most pertinent piece of information. So for instance, if somebody's human energy field had, or orb, or whatever you wanted to call it, had a layer that was protruding out further, that is the layer to be addressed for that soul DNA template realignment. so these, I'm just going to skip past this, platonic solids. I started to see these on people's bodies. This is a icosahedron, which is actually not related to this specific chakra, but when I was seeing this individual was getting an activation of his, the back of his throat chakra, where he was beginning to receive information from his higher dimensional aspect and getting the ability to channel. This is another male that I was seeing an upside down triangle, and when I started to see a lot of these shapes and geometric symbols and light codes, they always come through in platinum frequencies. Typically always more platinum, silver, white. And sometimes they can be encoded with different colors, but not the colors that we see here. It's the inner vision of seeing beyond and into the wider, larger electromagnetic color spectrum. Okay, so we saw that in the beginning. So I'm going to kind of land on this, and then we'll go into our group meditation. The one part of, there's a lot of parts of my story that we didn't get to today, but this was just to give a background, just to introduce you guys to my experience. And one big part of the journey is the dream state. And a lot of my journeys and interesting interactions and traveling in the dream state actually started when I was very, very young, going all the way back to as far as I can remember. But when I really started to have experiences that I think I started to semi-process that something was happening, and I was like traveling every night and getting activated and a lot of other stuff that I had to learn how to shield from, it started at the age of 15. And as I started to work on my light body, and I have dear friends in here, Jerome and Corey and Hannah, they're all incredible people, and they do incredible light body activation, galactic starseed work, and they've been a part of my journey as well. I don't think I would be standing here if it wasn't for their support and encouragement, because as a sensitive individual, it's, you're kind of bearing your soul with a lot of this stuff that, oh gosh, I'm gonna get emotional. It's just my honor to be here today and have you guys all listening to this, to the journey, because I know on a level every single one of you can relate, and how anyone who's at the Conscious Life Expo is, a beautiful soul looking for something, probably going through a radical journey themselves, incredibly gifted, trying to see, what do I do, where do I go? And so I just want to thank you so much for spending this moment with me. It's a big deal. And so with that, I'd love to transition us into just sort of a very simple guided journey before we go to the next stage, which will be where I'll connect with whoever wants to connect and kind of see what comes up. Check the timing too. Okay. So what we can do is I'll have you guys just get settled as you are. I don't like to tell people to uncross their legs. If you want your legs crossed, that's fine. If you want to uncross them, that's also fine. If you want your shoes on, off, it's all up to you. So I'll have you guys just kind of get situated. Is there a way we can turn the lights down a little bit? We'll just get our eyes closed, please. Again, you can breathe however you want, but when you take a nostril breath with your mouth closed, it will be helpful. Taking a nice deep breath in, slow, 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 and exhale to release. And we'll just kind of get into a little rhythm. Just keep breathing at your own pace, but try as best you can to keep them long and slow. Immediately, I want you to see a vertical platinum column within your body, however it shows up. This column is about 6 inches in diameter. And the moment you see it, it's connected to Source and to Earth. Let's just bring our awareness to that fact. Now we'll have a white sphere that you'll see in the center of your brain, opening up from your inner eye, your pineal gland. And we're going to have that drop through your throat. And as it drops through your throat energetic receptor center, you might see a little glow. Drop it down to the heart. It's going to glow and expand. It's going to drop down through your solar plexus, through your pelvic region, and it's going to follow the line of the vertical column. And as it gets a foot below your feet, it's going to form a platinum white shield. And then the sphere is going to keep dropping down into center of Mother Earth, anchoring in with the crystal core. And then this sphere is going to slowly come back up, going back up kind of through this vertical column, and then it's going to go above your head about 3.5 feet, creating another platinum white shield. The shield is flexible between, kind of depending on your size, 4 to 8 feet. Now you're going to see yourself in a platinum white tunnel. This is your shield. And I just want us to allow ourselves individually and together just be in this. Enjoy the silence. Beginning to feel that this platinum white light is assisting in disallowing frequency interference. And that's when I say just enjoy the quiet. You can feel on a frequency level quiet and stillness. Draw our awareness back to the center of our brain. Taking a second to blink open your eyes. So before I invite anybody up front, is there anyone that wanted to share about that experience, if there was anything that happened, any questions about anything I've shared so far. Okay. And then does anybody feel called to come up? Yes. Yes. Okay, let me check the timing. How much time do I have? Because
You have until 1:30.
okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Wow, I don't know how I'm gonna pick because Miss right there, maroon. Yeah. Do you want to come up? Because we're gonna do it up here. Oh. Can you guys hear me? Okay. Okay, so basically my intention with this is just to kind of give you guys a live experience of how this goes. And again, with this type of thing, anything that comes through for any of us, it's like there's something encoded for all of us. So we'll just take that into consideration. So usually when I see somebody, I just take a second to listen. Before we book a session, I obviously go through the stuff where it's like I don't need to know information. We just want to listen. We want to connect telepathically. This is when I start to see the toroidal field begin to move through the morphogenetic field and what I understand as plasma. Thank you. Okay, so I think I mentioned this too, but a lot of this is there's different things that can occur for an individual. So someone, it might be more mediumship, someone it might be more this, that, so. But I'm connecting with your maternal lineage, some aspects that I'm feeling in your template around that, and then as well, and usually when I give this information, there's time for feedback, like what resonates, what doesn't, and then we start to have more of an interaction, like an interactive co-creative experience. Heart chakra, processing grief, but this is beyond like specific relationship. It's like past this lifetime as well, but this is something that's given you a lot of the strength that you have. It's like your superpower, and a lot of times with these types of things, it's like the blessing and the curse. I'd be curious to see what and if the experience you had when you felt the sphere go through your heart center, if there was anything that came through. And then there's also a pet, which is rare when the pets come through.
The pet's alive?
Well, now there's more than one.
Well, I have one. I have a little pet that
But there's another one too coming through.
I had one house.
Okay. That one, So usually what I've noticed with our animal friends is they provide information through the color wave spectrum. So they'll show themselves, even if there's a current pet or a past pet from a specific time in the individual's childhood where there was a bond and there was something that he was assisting with your solar plexus, like your sense of self, your sense of confidence, your sense of being in the world, because a lot of times obviously pets are our companions. And so usually when they show up, there's a messaging around these energetic centers. And so what we're addressing here for her is, you guys can see the things that I went through from start to now is the first layer that was showing. I don't even remember what I said. What was it that I said?
So that, as far as my feathers.
Yes, okay. Yeah. So usually too, what I'm finding as like this work progresses, whatever, is that the DNA information around even down to percentages of how much we're carrying of the maternal versus the paternal on a metaphysical level. So sometimes it can be, like 80% father, 40%, or that's not math, that's not mathing. 80% and 20%. Okay, so I'm gonna hand it back to you. And we can keep, so usually what this happens is, it's like we see a tree and then we have an axe and we kind of keep chipping away so that we can come to some sort of moment of clarity. None of this is ever supposed to be like, oh my gosh, falling off the chair. Like, it's really subtle. Like, frequency is subtle and organic and natural and consenting for you. So I'll hand it back to you. Just whatever you felt like came up when mentioning maternal lineage, heart. We'll go there first, and then if you so desire.
Well, it's kind of related. My mother, from Idaho, France. We got this German Shepherd from my uncle at the time, so I am totally bonded with it. And haven't had a pet since first year, but she gave it to a farm. Was not a farm. It didn't tell me, and just lived to me away to Europe.
Okay.
So I think it hurt me, but I was sort of out of body because I lived in Europe full time. So I was at 10 different high schools, 48 different schools. So it was rip. So I really wanted a dog just recently, 2 years ago, because I live in a very expensive area and the neighbor was helping us. So I was determined to get one, and so I have a little work now. So I don't know if that's healing, but yeah, after COVID, I was pretty heartbroken in a lot of ways. Losing my family, my friends, coming out of a black pill situation.
Yeah.
Still doing it. So yeah, there was a lot of heartbreak.
Okay, so yeah, so basically, again, like with these types of things, we shine light from a space of just awareness of these facets of your energy template. So this took you, how old were you at the time that the moves were taking place?
Half of my life, so I how old?
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, probably.
It's a lot.
Maybe even like that.
That's a lot, yeah, because I've had sessions with people who like the army brats
It's
or
worse
whatever.
than Army by far.
Yeah.
I hate every Army brat, but was too lost me that. And I'm sure we have similar
Yeah.
issues, but they seem to have a group. I was
Yeah.
in other countries and all over the United States. And I didn't even have to go to school. I just started student out the social.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was a lot of uprooting. It's, I guess, me
Okay. So, and you,
damage or whatever.
well, I definitely do. I see strong and beautiful.
Yeah.
And I see too, like you just said, uprooting. And so I just want to touch on, because for you in the group, like, we're uprooting information not to point out things that are wrong. It's more about, like, we're just looking at something from a space of awareness. I've never met you before, but I'm listening to frequency. So that's just for you and your higher self to take into consideration on what may be in your highest good for the heart space and the solar space. And why would spirit bring forth that dog, the aspect of moving, someone taking a pet away without your permission can feel like very disempowering, and separating from the individual, just the feeling and frequency of disempowering, and how, you know, we are stepping into a world and a space where we are all God, sovereign, free individuals, and anything that took our power away usually can leave some sort of auric frequency. um, it can usually leave some sort of auric, you could say imprint, and so you and your higher self will know exactly what to do to move forward with this, or just like, okay, I became aware of it. Maybe it was just to shine a light of awareness on it for it to move through. That's really a lot of this stuff too. That can be a solution. So usually sessions can be 27 minutes or 57 minutes. I would love to spend more time with you, but I know there's other people that want to come up. Usually I would have her ask any questions, give more feedback. We would go a lot deeper, because usually when somebody starts to talk, there's a lot of information in between the words they're saying. It's never what anyone's saying. It opens up different fields. So thank you so much for being open. Okay, I just looked right at you. That look funky? What happened? Again, frequency. Back. Okay, all right, hello. Okay, so let's see. So again, just gonna listen here. I'm seeing a male who either is some sort of, I don't know if it's a brother or an uncle, and I don't know if he seems like he might be coming through from the other side right away. And someone that you were close with. Well, he's really excited he's like, feels like he's on stage, so you are here on stage. He wants to so there's information just around specific thought forms. So any thought forms, we're gonna kind of reframe into that you're a good guy. You're not a bad guy. Okay, I'm feeling heart and throat chakra shifting. Those thoughts and those beliefs were never yours. Those were imprinted. And again, kind of similar to the last, actually created a lot of the strength that you carry. Okay. I'm seeing something in the body here, skeletal system. I don't know if there's been like an injury, a break. But I'm seeing that with this kind of injury, you have a way of just kind of moving through it and pushing it, like, I got this, it's not that big of a deal. So, but just to see, as you draw your awareness to that, if that is there, it could be, if it's not skeletal, it could be more almost like nerve or fascia. Let's see. Seeing some, like almost hip, pelvic, nerve, sciatica, maybe. So I want to check in with you. How any of that felt. Okay. Which side? Which side? Okay, so, and usually with like the sequence of, that when the information comes through, like, okay, so there's that injury, whatever, and then there's the thought forms that we touched on before that may not seem related. But again, with the intention and the basis of this work, it's empowerment, self-love, and ultimate healing, and coming back to source. And if there's any ways that can be, and again, this person who's here is, I don't know if, the other thing, okay, did he cross over? Okay, because he's the one giving me all the information. He really? With Karen? Or Gail? Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah, he's literally right here. So, but just something around, let me see here. Because usually, so this is again, like, and I'm going to share with the group too, like the multitasking, multidimensional multitasking, there's like this and this and this, okay, and they're all interrelated. And so as we bring our auric human energy field into coherence, it's usually by addressing a lot of these things that can seem like not a big deal, or who cares, or yeah, I don't know, I'm strong, my hip hurts sometimes, but if we allow that pain to persist, subconsciously something, and again, speaking on behalf of Father here, what's his name? Dwayne. A little bit of an energy of apology as well. Yeah, it's because whatever the concept was around projecting something that made you feel like you were bad, you were wrong, like, okay. So just, okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. Because right away too, with the heart and the throat, it was like, that just takes the throat like this, especially for males. And I've found too, and I think perhaps that's why God was like, I'm going to have you see all of the worst things going on in the sacral chakra on earth, was to prepare for how much I see how commonplace it is and how many people experience it, and how damaging it is to our organic template, but not because it can't be rectified. Like, your message and your journey with that, and your wife and your guys' testimony together can be for strength and healing. And obviously this individual, like, it's all like, none of it was his, an apology. So, is there anything you wanted more to ask before we move to the next person?
Before he passed away, my wife made me call him. Oh, before he passed away, he passed away, I had a conversation with him about it. It's something that, like the shame and the throat, chakra, and black it out and forget about it kind of thing. But I sat down as an adult and had a conversation with him about it, and he not confronted, but just brought it up in forgiveness to him. And he had like a breakdown around it, and broke down, apologized in his way, and he died not too long after that.
So first of all, I want to thank you so much for sharing and allowing the group to witness that, because from this moment forward, like you will feel a huge shift because you just were witnessed by a huge group of people and sharing something, and already the work that you did by having the conversation with him and confronting him. And I'm feeling primary energetic centers here and here, which again, none of this stuff is stuff that you guys don't already know on a dimensional level. It's just, we're kind of just bringing it to light to move it through so that we can keep rising. So thank you so much. Yeah, thank you. Okay, hands up. Okay, you. It's because I kept staring at you when I was talking. Okay. Okay. So we have 2 generations back. So this might be a kind of a dumb question, but is a generation 100 years? Is that 20 years? Okay. What century is a... God, I really sound... Okay, so... Okay, so 2 centuries back, 200 years, let's see, 200 years. Female imprint, ancestry, let's see. The other thing too, and I just want to share this with the group, like the complexity of DNA and epigenetics and like all that stuff, I'm learning from it in this way. So let's see here, because this is more about that. Bringing awareness to it, because it's something that you feel currently, and you feel, again, always taking everything that I say with a grain of salt, like whatever resonates for you, you take, whatever doesn't, leave. But it's directing in a very, in a way that may create a feeling of, I know that's not mine, but why are you here, kind of energy. Does that sound accurate? More in the, let me just see this subtle body. I have to get more specific. The only thing that I see that it may create is a sense of separation from others, when that is not what feels good to your innermost self. So I'm going to hand it back to you to see if any of this is making sense, and we can keep chipping away or move to something else.
may be tapping into the work that I do. I work with DNA and ancestral healing in the human genome. Oh, wow. Okay, so I'll say that again. I work with DNA and ancestral healing in the human genome. So you may be tapping into that, but I know my work is evolving, and I don't know where it's evolving, how it's evolving, what it's evolving into. But I know there's something else I'm being called to, like I'm in a bifurcated state right now. And, yeah.
So what I was getting, and again, we'll kind of, but is there something with research that's coming forth that you feel like you are leaning into that maybe others aren't seeing or agreeing with, or feeling like that's a waste of space to go down that line when it comes to epigenetic information and research? Because it feels like, because I keep seeing 200, and let's see. I'm also seeing a male colleague who, let's see. So, and I'll just share with the group, like sometimes with this type of stuff, it's like if there's a template realignment. When I'm saying template realignment, a lot of you might already know this, but I'm just going to say it anyway, like our organic divine template can be a career-oriented conversation, because obviously it's a huge part of all of our lives. It could be more relationship-oriented. It can be more ancestry. It's just, so for this, it's for her, it's more becoming career oriented. So there's a lot of information coming through about specifics with regard to like epigenetic research, and possibly something with going back to 200-year markers and getting more specific on certain information on a plasmic level. And that something related to this with this male colleague who there's a healing in that dynamic, because especially, you know, if in this space for women, sometimes the dynamics can be imbalanced. And so there's a little bit of that, and if anything, empowering you to trust your gut. This bifurcation is happening for a reason, to take you to where you know to go. And if there's any energy or thought forms coming in that are keeping you in a collapsed state, blocked, that you're seen from a different place and validated. So again, I feel like I want to spend a lot more time with all of you guys, but do you feel like that gives you clarity?
Yeah, I feel like there's some validation and direction. Yeah, I keep feeling this male energy coming in, and it's been there for a long time, but there's some resistance that I have to it. Yeah.
So I'll just say, like on a frequency basis, how that impact on your auric field, just again from what I'm seeing, and you make whatever decision you want to make around it, but the impact, it's creating like a indentation and pushing into you, which is why your core is like, there's resistance, because this doesn't feel coherent. It feels like it's creating not like entropy, that's not the right word for this case, but it's just more dissonance. And then when that sort of wobbly, like the thought comes in, the thought forms, the energy, second chakra stuff, which is being used for manipulation and control, is no longer consented to, again, I'm not saying that for you, but like with those types of thoughts, you can just firmly state, I don't consent to this energy anymore. Every time it's felt in this in the second energy center, and any time, because they can come in different thought form, energy centers penetration, and you're like, whoa, does this feel good or bad, or do I like that or whatever? So, and that's when our when we go back to that image of, and it's funny too, the DNA, image of the male-female sequence. So yeah, everything that you do, the DNA, it's all kind of symbolically coming through around that. So we'll just kind of seal it for now for that, and then move to the next person. But thank you for being open and sharing in front of everybody. I'm going to let the next person pick because I can't handle picking anymore. Who wants to come up? Jerome! Jerome is major starseed activator. He's going to be, what are you?
I'll be doing a Stargate DNA activation in the La Jolla room at 8 p.m. today.
Okay. Okay. So, right off the bat, it's like your mom, as if she was here. And she has her hand on your shoulder, and she's alive, because the energy I get is that she's not crossed over. So, I don't remember if we've already had this so far, but even if somebody crosses over or isn't, it's the same aspect of themselves that's being communicated. But if they have crossed over the earth plane, there can be notation of that, which means like they'll show like some kind of frequency layer. Okay, let's see. I actually feel like I'm seeing something with you and your partner.
Before you get to that, I just want to say she did just like text me saying like, "Oh, I wish I was here today."
Okay, yeah. So, let's see. I see like the bond between you two, like the maternal bond. And it may not have always been such, but the shifts you're making, and again, like I know Jerome, so I have to unknow what I know of him and the work he does, just to see what's coming through outside of my personal human bias. So let's see. And so the work that you're doing is, I'm seeing a wave, like if you were to drop a rock in a lake, and it's going out, and we'll skip how many people it's helped, obviously, like in the human collective or whatever, but when it comes to your family, your mom is experiencing activation.
Yeah, so several years ago, when I first started this field, she told me that I was crazy, throwing my life away, all this different stuff, and didn't believe in any of the ET stuff. And now every day she's texting me, so I'm like, look at this thing about ETs, look at this, like they're real, all this different stuff. And it was just so funny that's our bond has magnified in the last little while because of this work. And and even though she's like, I don't know a lot about this stuff, but I wish I could be there. And yeah, so we do definitely have that bond has been built recently because we haven't been as close up until the last couple of years. But yeah, it's very, very accurate.
So, and with this type of thing too, because like obviously everybody's on different parts of their journey. So I work with anyone who wants to come in. So Jerome's obviously done a lot of work and like on the world stage for galactic work. So what I'm now seeing more of is, I think, Stargate information. And when it comes to my own personal activation, it's been more around like plasma mechanics, if that's even the right way to put it. Whereas I feel like you are much more involved or I guess very involved with Stargate happenings. And let me see, I'm not sure which one this is, but I'll describe what seems to be going on with this one, and perhaps you'll, let me see. I don't know if, it almost seems like you actually maybe just more recently connected with this specific Stargate and are receiving downloads about the information from it. Let me see. I'm getting a name, but I don't want to say it because I don't want it to be wrong or like dumb. I'm getting Antares though.
So yes, so the Stargate systems that I work with is the 12 Stargates that are connected to our 12 DNA strands, and Antares isn't one of those in like the 12, but I have been connecting with that one recently, and with what you're talking about too, the difference was when I first started this, it just came through and I started doing it. I didn't understand it, and more recently I've been learning the physics and the history and all the things that help me talk about the Stargates as frequency modulation zones and how to open them and how to, use them for your ascension process. And there's been a lot of knowledge happening from the gates on how the gates work, and that's what's been coming through most recently for me.
Okay, so I'm wondering if you can share, because Antares keeps coming through, and if there's something you can share for the group on why that may be, and then why I would be seeing what looks like Aurora Borealis green frequency color, if that's related to the Stargate situation or Antares, and how and why Antares would be coming through specifically, because I know you work with Arcturians primarily.
So the Antares, I've been working more and more with mantis beings, and the mantis beings that I work with come through that Stargate, and so that's where that is. And Tony Ghazi, he did an activation in a conference that I was part of, and ever since then, when he opened up that gate, then more and more of them have been coming through, and so that's where that's been coming from recently, because the ones that I primarily work with aren't that one, but that's been a recent development.
Is there any information from the mantis beings that, and I'm just going to say this and you'll maybe let me know if it's accurate, but because now they're communicating, so I do think there's a lot of misrepresentation of the mantis, and misunderstanding would be the better word, and possibly part of your relationship is to clarify some of that, because it's almost like too with some of these beings, like, and again, a lot of this is like the frequency translation stuff. It's like such a specific language, and you have to be so, what's the word? In a deep listened state and discerning. But it feels like, yeah, I'm seeing a starship or mothership. And I don't want to say mediation, but it's like you're definitely you're representing a lot of different races, or like almost a spokesperson, because yes, there's the Arcturian relationship, but so now it's like the whole carpet is rolling out, and this could go on for another hour, but basically there's like your galactic ambassadorship ship is shifting, and something with regard to, like frequency, reception, transmission, again, so that's all the DNA stuff, is becoming more specified. And whatever this mothership is, seeing you in the middle and then a bunch of them around, and this is not because of the background that you have, like, that I've seen. This is like I'm seeing it. And then I don't know if I want to say this because it's kind of personal, because it's involving you and your girlfriend. But I feel like you guys maybe already know, so just that it's a soul connection, and it's creating, so rather than going entropy this way, your guys' energies are creating, it's going this way. It's creating growth, expansion, yeah. And I'm seeing something else. But I want you to say it.
Yeah, we'll save the personal stuff for. But yeah, so a lot of it's accurate, and the mantis beings have been coming in more and more to. So they have sort of gotten not necessarily the best rep in certain ways, but the mantis beings, the way that they're coming in through me is they have lots of healing technologies that they're here to share with humanity. Up on my ship, when I engage with them, they're like surgeons, where they're using all these little arms to put things together and move through your energy field at a quick rate. And so that's what I've been learning with them, and that Stargate's been opening more and more recently to work with them.
Is this kind of a healing term? Like, is that for them to go on when they're doing that?
Yes.
So I'm feeling it right now.
Yeah, so they'll come in, like, whenever they're around, I feel like my third eye, like, open, but it's like,
Yes.
it goes from the third eye to the temples. It's not just the third eye, it's like you said, like a band almost.
It feels like it goes like this, and then it's like a.
Yeah, they scan.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they scan your blueprint, and they'll throw a blueprint up, and then they'll show you what they're doing on it as they're doing it. But yeah, they scan. They've got lots of these awesome galactic medical tools.
Okay, well, obviously I could keep going on about all of this. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming on. Oh my gosh. Okay, next, pink sweater. Okay, you guys, I want everybody to have a chance. How, timing? 10 minutes? Oh gosh. Okay. Okay. And just so you guys know, like, if you want to come chat after and get my information and whatever, so you can all have your turns, please do so. And then let's see here. Okay. Okay. So right now is not the beginning, but a very pivotal part of your self-love reclamation. You made a pointed decision. Let me see here. Because, so the reason why any of this is coming through is because it's like, again, part of her energetic orbit. It's the first layer that's protruding forward to be addressed. And let's see. The pointed decision that you made to reclaim, take your power back, is like you have like your guidance team like all applauding you behind, like that was so good, so brave, such a trusting the ambiguous, which one of the main things I know I've learned is trusting the void, just trusting the ambiguous. It's like, okay, here we go, like. And this was one of your big ones. And the whenever we do that, or at least when I see it etherically, it's heavily rewarded. So because if we think about it, anything that's creating a lack of harmony, taking us out of our perfected sphere, our perfected wholeness, our perfected whole state, there's, we can get perforations, we can get little paper cuts, and they may not be so obvious, but they can create spiritual corrosion or rotting, or there's another word that when like putrefied, like it can be putrefied, like which is different than rotting, and that can literally happen in the subtle bodies, interestingly. And so you made a pivot because you were trusting your divine feminine intuition. And this is important to point out because sometimes it can feel like, why did I do that? Like, was that the right decision? did I make a mistake or whatever. The timing too, obviously on the earth plane at the third dimension, the space-time and how we process it is obviously so much different than when we go higher, but you're moving into a space of being in your highest timeline. And you're just glowing right now. I mean, and it may not even, because there can be parts of us on our journey where we don't even feel like that, or even know it deeply, because obviously it doesn't matter how many times someone else says, oh, you're glowing, or you're beautiful, or it's amazing and lovely to do that, and we should all do that more, but only we can do that, and let's see here. This is not a phrase that I say at all, just disclaimer, but keep going for the gold is what I keep hearing. And with the gold frequency, this is probably something that can be good to do visualization practices where you bring in the gold frequency, the God frequency, the highest self frequency, because you're aligning with it. And are you with your friend here? Yeah, you guys I'm seeing a lot of stuff with you guys in your path together. So there's definitely, higher dimensional energies wanting to connect. That's the case for all of us. But just the direction here, just since we only have a few more minutes, is if you can begin to kind of release, if this was even here, any trepidation or doubt or being held up about the decision that you made to get you to where you are now. It feels semi-recent, but it could have been within the year. It could have been, it doesn't really matter because they're saying what that decision was. It just shifted the course for whatever reason. And let's see. And as long as you continue to start to truly get yourself to embed with golden frequency, to focus on activating your DNA strands, which I feel like this whole thing became about that, to keep trusting that, and to keep trusting, even if you have to keep practicing it, because meditation and these visualization practices and the clearing work, it's so paramount, to keep doing that and keep trusting it will come, because it can feel like when you're doing your practices, okay, well, it's gonna, when is this ever gonna happen type thing, or whatever. So to keep trusting and having patience, because again, something I don't say, I feel like I'm saying dad jokes now, but patience is a virtue. It's duh. But with virtuous living, that's a frequency. When we live by virtue, we're tapping into higher frequency. So I'm going to hand it to you, and any feedback, anything that resonated or didn't.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Last year was a very chaotic year, so I think I have been tuning into a lot of these things, and just what you say, it makes sense in many ways, and yeah, really, thank you.
Thank you so much for coming up and being brave. I would give you more time, but I think we're now... Have we closed? Do I have time? I'm going to have you come up. The gentleman with the blue shirt. Yeah. If they want to kick me out, then whatever. Put me in handcuffs. Take me out. Okay. Hello. Let's see. Science. Okay. Definitely connecting with what you study. What is that necklace? It's extremely activating. Yeah. It's really powerful. Did you get that here? It's for one of the energy centers, and it's definitely doing its job. So, and not in a bad. It's just like it's creating a literal vortex field. Yeah, like the cone. It's taking your heart chakra and just like amplifying it. Which I love crystals and, you know, and anyone who makes fun of crystals, it's like, okay, whatever. But they really are, they really do things. And so do our thoughts and all that stuff. So let's see, connecting with your dad. Very sweet gentleman from what I perceive. You guys actually share a lot of similar qualities. And if he has crossed over, a lot of times too, when they go over, they may not be the same as when they were here. So a lot of the information, let's see here. Because it's a kind of similar for the situation earlier where a lot of the paternal imprinting, conditioning, especially at that time, wasn't in a space where it was creating a lot of frequency, coherence, and expansion. But this I'm seeing more because of, and I don't know if his belief system, like I don't know if there was agnosticism or atheism or science materialism, more science materialism. And I'm not saying anything against science, obviously, you guys, please. I want to be clear about that. Okay.
Yeah, he passed away when I was 12, actually.
Okay.
So I feel like I never got to know him.
Yeah.
Now I'm a real good father.
Okay. Are you left-handed?
Yeah.
Is he or was he? Okay. Oh, because he was the one that just said that you're left-handed, so. Okay, so I think for this one, there's just direction to explore spiritually connecting with his energy for any ways that there wasn't closure. And I'm sure at this point in your life, you've done a lot of that already. But in a different way, in the sense of any of the grief or confusion that I feel like kind of can be here, and the confusion comes into the third eye around the way he left. Yeah.
I was brought up in a religious family that practiced. It actually gave me the base for my spirituality. So, you know, I believed in healing, or I was taught healing early on, but not all of us practiced it. At any rate, he had a lot of physical ailments, diabetes, heart disease. Passed away when he was 42. Had a massive heart attack when we were on vacation. It was New Year's Eve. I went to bed New Year's Eve. I woke up on New Year's Day. He was gone. He wasn't even in. He had a heart attack in the next room next to me. Paramedics. We were out of town. It was pretty traumatic for me for a long time. My parents didn't. My mom and the family, they just thought, well, you know, I just so frickin', excuse me, but protected growing up. You know, oh, let's don't. So I feel like there was just something just got unplugged, and I kind of just put to sleep for a long time. And now I'm like 4 decades later. I've been thinking about him a lot, and I was my mom remarried pretty quick, and guy's really nice. I consider my stepdad. He actually adopted me, which was kind of a weird. I'll tell you what's weird is they change your birth certificate, and my bio dad is not there anymore, like erased. It's the weirdest thing. So I feel like that just was all taken away.
So this is key. If there's any takeaway message addressing that, again, not because you haven't or done all of the things or whatever, but there's a new level of something, and considering why on earth you would tell me you have a left hand, you're left-handed. There's something in that. They do say that people who are left-handed do see the world differently. Like in some, I feel like Corey, you would know this. This guy right here, Corey, now is a genius, a literal genius.
Left-hand dominance often has a lot to do with the right brain being dominant, which you can see the world through unity and not through duality. And through that, you bring a peace between opposing cultures and opposing worldviews. So left-handed people have a way to see that unity much more easily and actually most.
Yeah. If everyone could have Corey in his pocket versus ChatGPT, things would. And Corey, also, when are you speaking this weekend? And last name is Now, N-A-U, right? Okay. I'm being waved down, so I'm going to honor that. I love you guys all so much. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for staying. This was so much fun. Oh my gosh. I don't want to leave the stage. If you guys have questions or want to get my info or whatever, I'll be right here.